Hello, everyone. It is Katie, and this is the KatieCast. Just kidding. This is not Katie. Didn't probably need to tell you that. This is Ben Stowe, and we have hacked Katie's account, and we have hijacked it, and we're going to talk some nerd today. I am here with my friend Marco Cantolu from Bologna, Italy. He is. How did I do? Did I do good?
Absolutely. You nailed it, buddy.
I've been practicing in my mind. He is the manager of application support for DB Technology's loudspeakers. And we are very appreciative of you joining us from almost quite literally halfway around the world.
Glad to be here.
We are certainly glad you are. Thanks for taking the time. We're going to talk about DB Technologies. Of course, NLFX right now is running a pretty awesome special on DB Tech loudspeakers. And many people are well familiar with the brand. Of course, it has a long and storied history. It's been around a long time, makes a great product. But some people are not. So that's where you come in. We're going to talk about what makes DB Tech unique, and we're going to get into some super nerd stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And I want to tell you, some of the people in sales and marketing, they're great people, and they've done a good job of putting together some questions for me here. So we have some of these questions, but you and I are nerds. We are technical people.
Just crap the whole thing.
Yeah, we're not doing that. We're going to do some nerd stuff.
Nice.
Sorry, salespeople. This is now my show.
It's not me. If you're looking, he did it, not me.
You know what?
Going.
Keep waiting for Katie to hack back in and kick me out.
Any minute.
So let's start off with Marco. Let's start off with just kind of tell us a little bit about DB Tech, about that history, the company's origins, and you can sort of kind of dive into the commitment to engineering, and then we'll get into some of those specifics and brass tacks.
Sure. As you correctly said, some of the people are familiar with DB Tech. Some are definitely not. By the way, I love your mug. Send me one over anytime. And just for you to know, my address is now I'm based out of Bologna. So this is where you're going to send the mug. And this is also where the company is from. Bologna is located in the northern part of Italy. And the company has been there since 1973, the year that was founded. What I really like to say every time, this company is a technology-driven company. So the owner, which is still owning the company and many other right now, it's still in charge and driving the company. He's an engineer. He started designing wireless systems, and he's still taking part in the design process. So I don't think there are many companies out there that still can say we are still run by the family who founded and driven by the same values, which is, I think, is great. It's great to be aboard right now. It has a lot of stimulus, a lot of improvements and investments on technical development and so on. I think the products speak for themselves. I think that if you dig into the brand just a little bit, I would not be surprised if you mention me. Well, there's a lot of technology. I would have never said that. I would have never know if I touched it with my hands and heard it and tried to use the user interface. So this is the kind of effect that we try to achieve. Try to give more by staying very competitive. How do you make product competitive in price and features? Well, there are many different ways. I gotta be honest, I really like the way we are handling this. So we design everything in-house. We design amplifiers and we tune the DSPs. We do the voicing of the boxes and acoustic designs. We are lucky enough to have a lot of people in R&D and a lot of investments in broadbacks, so much that we can have our own Anechoic chamber just for start throwing some nerd stuff in. We have 3D printers of huge sizes to print waveguides and face plugs for woofers and you name it. So we have a lot of tools of pick and place machines to realize our own electronic boards in the house. And we also have a couple of crazy guys that like to do by hand. I don't even know. I don't know where they're going to go. We're never going to find some people like this anymore. It takes a lot of patience, but it's great. You have a lot of people working on this.
Well, that's pretty awesome. I think a lot of people maybe have the belief that all things come from the same place, or any black box, where the speaker in it is like any other black box with a speaker in it. And I think, sometimes people don't know what they don't know. And so they don't understand the nuances and the differences. Now, of course, I have a long history of touring and working with loudspeakers. And sometimes when you're touring, you're going into a place that has a system provided for you, and you have to deal with what they have. Sometimes that's a joy, sometimes it's a challenge. But certainly, I know that there are even big differences in loudspeaker systems. And it's very cool that you guys are designing all that stuff in-house and manufacturing that stuff in-house. So I think that's a pretty cool jumping off point there.
Yeah.
I was thinking Italy seems to be kind of a hotbed for loudspeaker companies. Now, me, myself, I'm German Irish, but I think my stomach is Italian. I'm a big fan of Italian food.
I've heard that story before.
Yeah, I totally stole it from a comedian. I cannot think of funny things on my own, so I have to watch comedians and research material. So some of the things that, some of the unique products I think that have been big hits here in the US from DB Tech would be products like the ES series, particularly like the ES 1203, the ability to make a singular column or to split that out into a pair of satellite columns. But some of the other things that make DB Tech unique, in addition to your in-house engineering and that sort of thing, is that you guys use FIR technology in a lot of your boxes.
Yeah.
And not all, certainly. I'm going to real quick for our viewers just explain that this stands for finite impulse response as opposed to IIR, which is infinite. And that has some real advantages in terms of contouring the sound and the performance of the box. But Marco, I didn't drag you out of bed in Italy to listen to me talk. I want you to tell our viewers a little bit about why FIR is advantageous and nice that it has precipitated down to the affordable level. It used to be just in the domain of the touring systems, but it is really now available to everybody.
Wow, it's nice that you brought this up, because it's I don't want to call it technology. It's not a technology. It's a way of tuning the systems with specific tools that we are endorsing since a very long time, longer than people even know. So we are using FIRs and products that are 5 or 6 or 7 years old, and people didn't even know about it. And the secret, there's no secret. The point is that as long as you hear the difference, there's no coming back. We started having it and selling it, quote, selling, is to propose it to the market as a subtle feature. So you don't want to really know that is there, but it is there. One of the great ways I have been approaching to this technology is I was working in front of the Anechoic chamber, and the R&D was listening to a speaker. It was an opera box, not many years ago. And I say, okay, tell me which voicing do you like the most? So they give me a switcher, and so I could hear the same song and switching anytime seamlessly. So it goes A and B and A and B, and I say, yeah, it's gonna be B. It's like the vocals are popping out. It's great. Let me see the frequency and frequency response. So they open Smart Software, they show me the curve, and it's like, well, they're identical. How can this be even possible? And so they show me the phase response. And this is where I realized that, yes, we know that humans here are not susceptible to perceive absolute phase, but only relative phase. But there are content within the box that if you have a linear phase response, it just works. Something clicks on your mind and your brain knows this is the one. This is the box that sounds the best. This is where I can get more information out of. Intelligibility is the key. In my opinion, the way we use FIR is we try to give intelligibility to the box without having to stress the components, without having to work finally on the crossover, without having to work too much on the voicing, pushing the high frequency or the mid-range. But we can go instead with this other method, which is FIR. So there's downside of this technology, and I don't want to bring this conversation on my way. I just want to go back to the points that you raised, and I think they're really spot on. So you mentioned that FIR is coming to a lower market. Let's say the price is getting more and more affordable, and we are able to put FIR filters on products that would have never have seen this possibility years ago. This is because DSP technology is getting more and more performant with more efficiency at a cheaper cost. So this is all on great DSP manufacturers such as Analog Devices and Texas Instruments and all of the brands that we are actually buying our DSP-based DSP from. And these guys are just doing an astonishing job in the recent years.
Yeah, they're just making more powerful. The processors are getting more powerful, which gives us processing power to do this. So I want to interrupt you real quick because a couple of things you said I want to bring back for a few of our viewers. Now, some of our viewers, undoubtedly, I've seen a few that are watching. I know they are nerds like me, and they are loving this. Not everybody is. Some people are probably popping Tylenol right now and going, whoa, wait a minute. We just used some really big words here. So, I like to say that phase is really just a fancy word for time. And of course, there is a relationship between phase and magnitude. And you've talked about something specifically like linear phase, which is something many of us associate with EQ filters. As, of course, we apply filters, it creates a delay. And that's where things are no longer, like I said, phase is a fancy word for time. So coming back to FIR, and maybe we can talk, I don't know if you've got some screenshots, we can show like brick wall crossover points, and you can talk a little bit about the coherence and the linearity of that, because it is kind of fun, I think, to show people that physics is real, whether you know about it or not. These things really do exist, but I love what you said about just going A, B. I think everybody can appreciate that, even if you don't know why B sounds better. The difference is clear. And I can tell you absolutely and factually that when you work on systems that have these things, as you said, your work is easier. I don't have to work as hard to make the system sound good when the system already sounds good. Before we do that conversation about linearity and FIR, I real quick want to point out another word that you said, and I'm not sure exactly how you said it. I'm not sure. I'm glad I got your name right, but how did you say anechoic again? I want to hear your Italian pronunciation of this.
Oh my God. Just, oh my God. There's no way back from here, I guess.
No way to do. So here in the States, we would say, and we do, of course, have international viewers, but anyway, I would say anechoic. And explain that to our viewers. What that means is there's no echoes. Down to a certain frequency, that chamber will not produce echoes, and thus you're able to measure the accurate sound from the box itself.
Exactly. So I may have misspelled it or mispronounced it. I maybe have said anechoic or something like this, but it's definitely anechoic chamber. And yeah, it comes from Latin, without echo. So we are able, with some mechanical devices, so basically cones, and it's foam inside, so it's material that can absorb sound to a very deep level. And depending on the shape of the room, we are able to create a room inside a room which is able to be linear and without echoing of no kind and reflections, from, in our case, is 250 hertz up. And of course, if you want to make this room linear and anechoic, even to 10 hertz more, that would needs to be exponentially bigger. So if you want to be linear from 20 to 20,000, the room should be theoretically as big as our company. That is very not cost efficient. So it's right. So 250, it's our sweet spot. 250 to 20K hertz. It's the range that is most useful for a company like us, designing waveguides and small speakers. And then we have open air measurements for the bigger stuff, and we also can rent the biggest anechoic chambers that we have. In Italy, we have a couple of them. So when needed, we can have premium measurements down to the lower end of a subwoofer, infra subwoofer, if we want to. But for the day-to-day use, that anechoic chamber is just super useful.
So real quick, I just want to mention, shameless plug here. I don't normally get to do the KatieCast. And in fact, I got to be a guest on the KatieCast once when somebody else couldn't do it last minute. But I do have my own show Tuesday nights on the DJ NTV channel. And if you go back and look at our history, we did do a show on anechoic chambers if you want to see what those are all about. Pretty cool. So feel free to go watch that show. But I believe, Marco, you may have some smart screenshots. Smart is an acoustical measurement software that of course you and I both use. Do you have something we can show?
try to see what happens. Can you guys see it?
I see it.
Nice. Okay. So after I got this experience a few years ago, I just went to the R&D. I took that speaker, I brought it outside, and I take some traces of because I really wanted to see the effect of the experience that I got and try to give it back to you guys. So this is the frequency response of one single opera box. Let's not talk about how does it look like. It's there's a lot of low end, yeah, but apart from this, what really took my attention was that this blue was EQ number A, and then the yellow one was EQ number B. So A and B. And if you look at this frequency response trace, they look absolutely identical. Yeah, we have half a dB between 5K and 20K, of course, but this could be the measurement, could be the microphone, or maybe they truly are a little different. But I would say from a technical point of view that those speakers are identical. What really blew up my mind, if I now take the phase response of this box here, is that I bring on a second screen. This is representation of phase. I don't know if you're used to this kind of view, but it's the so-called wrapped phase. It's easier to consult. So every time we see, roll off, that is where the phase makes a whole turn. So we have 1, 2, 3 complete turn rows. And also, as you can see, it's not what we expect. We would expect to see a straight line. That would be an ideal speaker. Straight line for frequency response and straight line for phase response around 0.
I want to interrupt you again, Marco, just for our non-nerd friends. This is a really hard thing for people to
probably is.
Well, I think the hard thing is that what we're looking at is a 2D graph that represents a 3D response. So I think that's, when we start talking about trying to represent 360 degrees in a 2D plane, that's what really throws people. So I just wanted to point that out. I guess what I really wanted to say is if this doesn't make any sense, you're in good company. So carry on.
It's a nice way to see. It's a 2D representation of something which is maybe above 3-dimensional. So it's really vast. So I think the next trace I'm going to unlock will maybe make everything clear. So take a look on the upper window where we have our frequency response. Everybody's used to see some kind of RTA response where we have the amplitude and the frequencies on the bottom line. Now I'm going to open the same speaker with frequency, so with FIR. As you can see, the frequency response is the same, but the phase is dramatically different. So what can we say? What can we see? We do have the same slope on the bottom end, but then instead of having 1 turnaround and 2 turnarounds and 3 turnarounds, the phase starts to smooth out and reach 0, which is in phase.
And FIR filters are very commonly not used on the lower frequencies.
Yes.
Just to clarify to people that, for example, I don't use FIR processing on subwoofers, for example. So
that is making a lot of sense because maybe some of you already know that FIR, so the lower is the frequency where you're going to apply a FIR filter, the longer will be the latency. And this is where I come with my downside. I'm going to open another window. You don't really know what this is. Just look at the number on the top. So if I select my blue line, I see 5.71 millisecond. What is this? 7.1 millisecond is the time from within my signal coming out from my audio card, going into the DSP, converted in analog, reproduced by the woofer, airborne to the microphone, and then back to the interface. That is the time of my whole turnaround of my signal. So that's 5.71 millisecond. Of course, we do not expect to see FIR having the same latency. In fact, the latency is 8.29. So we see more than 3 milliseconds of latency, an added latency to the speaker. So that is the real downside. On the flip side of the coin, we see that FIR takes a lot of time to perform his magic. I think it's worth it. We need to find a sweet spot. And as you certainly know, different manufacturers use the FIR in different areas, but most of them use it either in the crossover or in the high end because it's less time consuming than using on the low ends. Even if it would be beneficial, the latency would be too much. And you certainly know that a latency beyond 5 milliseconds, roughly, it is what we call the Haas effect starts to kick in, and we perceive signals coming not from the same source, but from two different and separate sources. So we really want to keep our speakers as low as latency as possible with the flattest frequency and phase response as we technically can achieve. And we have to thank DSP manufacturer to giving us so much horsepower for this. It's just fun. It's just fun doing it. Okay, let me just close that. Yeah, we do not have the representation of. I mean, we can talk about phase, but I think that it can go maybe too far apart. We can go maybe a little too far. But I just want to mention a couple of other things that I really like to underline when we design a speaker. Not only we try to have phase response as linear as possible in order that the listener can have this feeling of clarity and intelligibility versus IIR performant DSP voicing. But we also try to concentrate a lot of limiters and harmonic distortion. That is stuff that we barely pay attention on this data when we look at the tech spec. We usually look at watts and power. And also, this is a mistake in my opinion, because I do not really care on how much power does my plasma TV actually draws from the wall, but I'm actually interested in how much light can it emit and how much bright image can it give me. So it's not on how much power can my speaker take, but is how much power can it give it to me back. So what I really like to underline is we should all learn to focus on sound pressure level, so the SPL level versus power, but that is another story. That is a complete another story.
I think that's a really good point. And this is another shameless plug opportunity. I know that on the Disc Jockey News TV network, I've done several shows on why watts are not completely irrelevant, but certainly the last thing that I really look at. I mean, it is important to know how much power consumption I have, but other than that, wattage is not really a very good measure of a loudspeaker's performance. So some really cool shows that you can watch on djntv.com. Also, I think here on YouTube. But another example, you used a great example, and as Carlos says here, that's a perfect metaphor. But another example would be a light bulb. An incandescent lamp might use 60 watts to produce a certain amount of lumens. A compact fluorescent might use 13, and an LED might use 8. But at the end of the day, the amount of light output is the same. So, in fact, I had a great conversation with a loudspeaker manufacturer who shall not be named, but it wasn't you guys, and it was at NAMM, and they were talking about they had replaced a loudspeaker with a new version, and it was 2 dB less output, but it was 500 watts more or something. And they were like, "But we made it 500 watts more." I'm like, "You made it worse."
Yes.
You didn't make it better. You made it worse. That's like bragging about your car getting less miles per gallon and calling it an improvement. That's not a good thing.
Oh my God. Thanks for rephrasing what I was trying to say in English. And again, sorry for the broken English. And thanks for underlining. You are totally on the same page. And I'm pretty sure that all the listeners here can share the same. If not, just comment it. I'm more than happy to see your point. I totally agree with you.
Yeah, and by the way, anyone watching, you're doing great on the English, by the way, Marco. Your English is much better than my Italian, I'll tell you that.
Oh, thank you. Thanks, Game of Thrones. Definitely not my teacher.
Well, for me, 99% of my Italian has come from menus. But again, we've already established I'm a big fan of Italian food. So I do want to say, viewers, if you have questions, please contact us with those questions. Feel free to contact me directly, or I think this might be on Katie's page as well. It's on the NLFX Facebook page and the NLFX YouTube. Any way that is convenient for you, please send those questions, and we'll be very happy to answer them. As you're picking up on here, Marco and I are both big nerds. So, Marco, we get it. This is complicated, and it's nerdy, and it matters, and your loudspeakers sound better. What else can you tell us about DB Tech? Obviously they're very affordable. They're priced very competitively. Let's talk a little bit about maybe longevity and warranty and support.
Okay, so our main focus in the last, especially let's say 10 years and so, is we build testing machines directly in our production line. So we really wanted to improve the affordability of the product. So we wanted it to be more reliable. And this is going through many solutions. One of them is, as I just mentioned, we are trying to test every single speaker. And we do test every single speaker before it's going to be shipped anywhere in the world. And that is absolutely essential, because this is what you expect. You don't want to open a container in Australia and see that your Opera speaker is the 0.1% that may fail. It's unfortunate. So we try to avoid this as much as possible on site.
So you test every speaker?
Yes. Depending on the line, like in the very, very entry-level products, where the one that are not assembled in Italy, we take the whole batch in Italy, which is mandatory. We do not do drop shipments. So everything, even if it's assembled in other countries, it goes back to Bologna, and we do sample testing. So what we do, we take every batch, we take a percentage of products, and we test them the same way we would have tested if they are manufactured in Italy. And also we take 5 samples and we put them in our fridge. Well, if you've never been to our factory, you have no idea what the fridge is. And believe me, it's the hottest place in the world. It's no fridge. It is where it's a closed room. We have 1 meter of sand on every side, top, bottom, and sides, and the doors. We take the speaker, we take them to die. So this is where R&D performs this life and endurance test, and also where every batch is tested to see if the expected life span is the same that we designed in the first place. So every batch has this kind of test. For the products that we're going to talk today, so we're talking about ES, we're talking about Ingenia, we're talking about LVX. Those products are tested one by one, and this is very important for us. So they're tested as far as safety and also frequency and phase response. Talking back to the design process, so how do we achieve a reliable product? Well, this is achieved through many different processes. One that we learned is make one design of amplifier and use it on as many products as possible. This has two great effects, two great impacts on the market. One, this amplifier is going to be tested in many more products, and so it's going to be more reliable. Less unpredictable things can happen. Let's call them things. Second is the price.
Yeah, call them failures. Yeah.
Yeah, whatever. Things. Things happens. Yeah. Okay. That said, we also are focusing on dropping the prices, because if we can produce not 1,000 but 10,000 amplifiers of mount of the same kind and just program the DSP with just a USB quick programming, and then we can turn this amplifier into an Opera, into an ES1203, or into an FMX wedge coaxial monitor. It's the same electronics with just different DSP settings. That is really helping us to be competitive. So it is very easy for a user, when comparing prices of products, say, oh, well, this is cheaper, then must be made with cheaper stuff, or must not have been put as the same attention of a more expensive product in the design and tests. Well, that is not our case. We can be affordable because we design everything. We don't have to buy technology. As you probably know, the group that we're part of also owns a transducer company. And we also have, our group is really big. It's almost, I think, 5 or 6 brands. I can't even count them right now.
You kind of dominate the loudspeaker world, the group that owns DB Tech. And I think that's important for people to know that, and I'm not going to say the names unless you want to, but they are big, well-known names. So if you haven't heard of DB Tech, you probably have heard of some of the other loudspeaker companies that are within your group.
Probably, yes. And being a part of this group, which is, I think, as far as today, is the biggest pro audio group in Europe as far as loudspeakers, you have a lot of power when it comes to buying technology that we cannot develop. For example, I'm mentioning Bluetooth receivers or infrared sensors or near field communication tags that we use in some products. The same that you have in your phone. This stuff is something that we put in speakers to detect the position and store information. So we really try to be, I don't want to say pioneers, but we really do like to experiment a little bit around. We use a lot of technologies that maybe they're unlikely to be found in speakers of other manufacturers, but we think that they are just the right fit for the specific application that we're looking into in the design. And so when it comes to having to buy technology, of course, we are competitive, and that is a big help. And this is just to, taking down all the curtains on the people say, yeah, if you're affordable, then maybe you're not reliable. That is not the case. That is not the case for us.
So let's talk about those things when things happen, as you say. Being in the field, being a guy who's toured, and being a guy who sells loudspeakers. Which, by the way, a quick note on that: I think some people might be really surprised knowing that I own a brand of loudspeaker and I use that. 9 times out of 10, when you ask somebody what loudspeaker they recommend, they're going to tell you what they own. And I do love the loudspeakers that I own, but the brand is irrelevant because there are a lot of good brands. And I think that's kind of the point here, is that there isn't really just one good brand. There are a lot. And what we've established here is that DB Tech is certainly among those brands. And in fact, the company that I work for, NLFX, we carry 260 brands, something along the lines of like 300,000 products. So my favorite answer is always, it depends. When people say, what's the right loudspeaker? I say, well, it depends. It's very application based. One of the nice things, of course, for that, for us anyway, maybe not for you, is that when our customers ask for a recommendation, we have a lot of options, and we can give them those options with impunity. We can really choose what's best for them. But what is good for you is to know that DB Tech is on that list, that certainly you make some great products. I just had a customer last week who was going back and forth in his mind, having a real struggle with whether he should get the ES1203 or the RCF EVOX 12. Okay. Noting some of the similarities between the companies, wink, wink, but there are very big differences in the product, and he didn't really like the answer I gave him, which was they're both great. They're different.
Nobody likes that.
I mean, you have to get into the nuances of what makes them different, because if you're just asking which one's better, that's an impossible question. So
I agree.
That all being said, let's talk about when things aren't great. Let's say, so what happens when one of those things happens? You're in Bologna, Italy, and my customers are predominantly here in the U.S. We do have some customers in Europe and Asia, but predominantly our customers are U.S. based. Do we have to send that speaker back to Bologna, Italy?
Well, this is strictly related to the policy of every different company. So the way we distribute in the world, we have exclusive distributors for every country, which is today is, I have no idea, 150. I have no idea right now. As far as US, we're very lucky because we are so lucky to have the biggest distributor in the planet, which is Gem Industries, distributing us in US under the name of American Music and Sound, which are great partners of ours. And they have support locally in the US, located in the US, so they can take care of 99% of the issues. Same story goes for Canada, which is operating on a different brand. So as far as North America goes, we do have a distributor taking care of this. Their repairing technicians are in touch with my department, which is application support. So if they are the front end for an average American customer, will send an email to the distributor if they cannot answer the question for whatever reason, or if the failure or the issue or the question is particularly interesting, let's say, then he go directly in touch with me and the 4 of my colleagues. So we are also in touch, as well as we have a central after-sales support in Italy, which is going to intervene. But usually is America is going to take care of the repairs most of the times.
That was a very informative answer. I'm going to give a much shorter answer. So,
stop me anytime, and I apologize, guys.
Stop! I'm going to give our viewers a much shorter answer.
My apologies. I'm Italian. Come on. I don't want to go on the cliche, but yeah,
It was a good answer. It was very informative. I'm going to give our viewers the short version. No,
America.
You don't need to send your speaker to Italy.
I do not want your speaker back.
First thing,
yeah.
contact your dealer in the US, which hopefully is us. And I can tell you that we have outstanding support. That is really what we believe we sell at the end of the day. We're not selling you a speaker, we're selling support. You can get the speaker from a lot of places. So number one, contact us. Two, we have, as he said, the US distributor backing us. 9 times out of 10, if there's a problem, it usually occurs right away. And we often just replace it right away at that point. Certainly down the road, things can wear out. Parts are available. Repairs are available here in the U.S. So short answer, no. You do not have to send it to Bologna. Mike, who's watching, just says, I wanted to send it to Italy directly. Well, he probably wants to hand deliver it. I'm sure you would be fine with that, too, if you want to take your speaker on a plane.
Well, be my guest.
But you don't have to. So let's see. We're getting kind of into the end of our time here. Any quick just things you want to add? Some tips for viewers? Maybe throw a little nugget to your sales team. I mean, at the end of the day, you got to sell loudspeakers to get paid, right? So
wow. Well, it's very hard. So many things to say. I just wanted to say, I personally think that it's good fun working for this company because I see the way he's working behind. On the stage, really what's happening. And honestly, I would trust any brand. I don't want to say DB, but I would trust any brand that really takes seriously the fact that reliability is top priority and application-oriented products and cohesion between the tools that he's giving to you, the user interface that he's offering, and the fact that every product can work together with any other product in the same manufacturing line. I think those features are if somebody asking me which is the best system, I would say the system that you like the most, that is most reliable, that gives you best support, and that it is easier to operate because you have so many things to think about when you are going on a gig, whether it's going to be DJing at a wedding or singing on a bar or a A-grade touring worldwide tourney. I don't know, but regardless of this, you're always gonna need room to take care of other issues. So your PA should not be an issue, should be easy to deploy, should be ready to go. And I think that we make systems that we think are ready to go. They're real plug and play systems. And we also invest a lot on picking our distributors, which also pick their dealers that have to be good in service and just not sell the stuff and just disappear. That is something that we're really looking into. This is why we have regional managers looking into this. And that is all I have to say. Just believe in the brands that really take your job seriously and not just try to sell you stuff. And if you have any questions, you can also write directly to us if you want. But we are always open to question. The technical support at dbtech@aeb.com. You can find the email on our website. If you want to know some little perks from the company, if you ever stop back to Italy and you want to stop by, just do it. Ben, I remember you have to stop me because I can go on forever.
So well, let's take some questions real quick. And by the way, I wanted to give kudos to Mike for posting the Italian flag in his comment. Nice use of the emojis. And it reminds me of a funny story where we were walking around looking for a place to eat. I think it was after a trade show or something. And somebody said, hey, let's go to that Irish restaurant over there. And I said, what Irish restaurant? And they pointed over to a place. The red had faded into an orange on the neon sign. So it looked like the Irish flag, which of course is very simple. It's green, white, and orange instead of green, white, and red. I will say, now I'm Irish, but I will say I was relieved to find out there was actually an Italian restaurant.
Okay. I was trying to be polite, and I would say if you get some beers, then maybe you get lucky.
Oh, listen, I mean, our entire diet is based on a famine. I mean, I love my family's Irish heritage, but we are not known for our food. So, like I said, I was relieved to find out that it was an Italian restaurant. So, but we do dominate the beers. We definitely dominate the beers. So and the whiskeys. Let's take let's see if we get some questions here. Let's take some questions real quick. If anybody has a question, please fire it in the comments, and we will try to answer those live over the next few minutes. And if we don't get them in now, we will certainly reply to your questions later.
Definitely.
Meanwhile, I'll just sit here and think about food some more. That's kind of a recurring theme with me. So Mike has a question. He says, let's just pop it up here. I didn't read it before popping it up, so that's how much I trust you, Mike. The 1203, I think the one Katie posted yesterday, what is the accessory that hides the pole? Do they have to be attached to the tripod, M20 included, or can they be stacked?
Good question. Okay, 1203 is shipping with just a pole. If you want to replace the pole with a wooden mock-up of the two tops that is going to completely replacing the pole, we do have an accessory which is called DP ES1203, which is design pole ES1203. You can find it on the website. Maybe I can, after on Facebook, I can send you the link directly on the website, or maybe, Ben, you can help me with this. We do have it in black and white version, depending on which color.
Or just ask Katie. Just say, I want the design thingy added to my order, and piece of cake. We'll do that.
Exactly.
But it is an optional accessory, and as you said, it's available in both black and white, as is the ES1203 available in both black and white.
Correct.
Very good. Any other last minute questions while we are live? Please pop those in here. Otherwise, feel free to send your questions if you're. Here's a good one. Oh, this is a good one. I actually had a discussion with a loudspeaker manufacturer about this, and I lost. But you get to hear this question direct from the end users. Pass it on. What are the chances of more battery-powered PAs with an internal battery and Edison power plug outlets, as in a inverter? Now, of course, one of the challenges here is that would be different voltages for different countries.
Exactly.
So thoughts on that real quick?
It is highly possible that we can come up with something like this. Of course, I'm not allowed to share future product, but second, the future is a little bit subject to changes because of this thing is happening right now in every country in the world. So I would not say too much about this, but of course, we thought about this idea. Battery powered speaker is something that we already offer as a all-in-one 10-inch and a driver speaker on a stick. With lithium battery. So it's also an option that we are offering. Different story is if you're talking about a 1203, so an ES style box with the battery, because that would include a subwoofer, that would include a lot of more issues related to, you have passive tops to be driven, and you have hardware, and you have Bluetooth receivers, and you maybe want to have a wireless and so on. So the key is always finding the sweet spot between the durability of the battery and so you want to have a long-lasting product which sounds loud and great and with a lot of features. Of course, the sweet spot today, it is going to be too much expensive for this market. So we came to this conclusion with the technology that we have today. We might have something which is lasting 6 hours with wireless microphones, headsets, and Bluetooth and full power, but it's going to cost you more than a line array system.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head, and that's kind of one of the answers I got back. Is there are some real challenges with battery powered systems, and we do sell some great battery powered options. But many of them have to ship hazmat certified carriers due to the size and of course the risk of combustion with a lithium ion battery of that size. And then there's the scalability, as voltages are different throughout the world, and so I think, like you said, you can't speak to future things, but I think the short answer is don't hold your breath. It's probably not going to be anytime soon. Real quick, we have another question here. This is a great one. I'm going to pop it up. Alexander wants to know, are the speakers still made in Italy or are they made in China now?
Good question. Okay. First of all, every speaker we do is designed in Italy. So we do not buy OEM products, which is the key to the rest of my answer. So we design everything, and we have people that can follow step by step, and they are paid by us directly, and they respond only to us in Italy. People that lives in China or Taiwan or Thailand, depending on the lines. So we do have some products lines that are assembled in China. But first of all, again, we design it in Italy. We have people there taking care of this, and they only respond to us. We manufacture the machines for quality control. We ship the machines for measurements of both electronic, safety, electromagnetic interferences, and acoustic response, of course. And fourth, every speaker comes back to Italy for the batch control. So even if some of the lines are assembled in China, Taiwan, we do not want the people to associate this sticker with the prejudice of saying, oh, well, this is not quality enough. We only manufacture in other countries if the quality standards are up to what we think is what we want to offer in the market. We are fully aware. We're fully aware that we also, sorry for interrupting, but we're fully aware that if we ship an MI product, a small speaker somewhere in the world with our logo on top, we know that in some other countries, we're also selling a top-notch line array system for A-class touring applications, and we do not want nobody to associate bad things. So we don't want an inconvenience to reflect also in the touring market as well. So we are taking this very seriously.
Yeah, that's an excellent answer. And I think the answer is, of course, it depends. Some products are going to be made globally. Some products are going to be made in Italy. That's really not unique to you. I think every loudspeaker company now, there is a, US-based loudspeaker company that we love that makes products in the US, in Mexico, in China. That is the way of the world today, unfortunately, or fortunately. But it is a global market, So yeah, but I love your commitment to engineering and quality control. And in fact, not to steal any thunder from DB Tech, but rather to reinforce the value of that engineering. There is a loudspeaker company that is based here in the U.S. that manufactures some of their MI products, their lower level products in China. And of course, anything that's made in China, even if it's not made in China, there's something that might look like it from China. It doesn't take long for things to get copied, right? And
good point. Very good point.
At least they look the same. They're not the same, but they look the same. And it was really fun for me to bring some friends to that U.S. engineering facility and show them the original 3D printed prototype to say, look, this was made here. This manufacturer did not just go find a speaker in China and put their name on it, and neither do you. You guys are engineering these things, and they're being made to very exacting standards specifically for you and only for you. And that's what makes DB different than some no-name brand per se. Real question. Oh my gosh, we've got a couple of great questions here. First, I have to, so Colin, who is US-based sales for DB Tech, you know what? We tried to kick the sales guys out of this call, but he does have a comment. A reminder that DB Tech does, in fact, have a battery-powered speaker, the B-Hype, which we do stock. So thank you, Colin. Appreciate you keeping us tech nerds honest. Boy, here comes so Mark Spin, my friend Mark Spin, and he's a great guy. No, I am not wearing makeup. I'm just naturally beautiful, Mark. So
how can this be a serious question? I love that. Thanks, Mark.
What can I say? I'm a sexy guy, Mark. I don't know. No, listen, I didn't get this job on my good looks. I think that's fairly plain. I don't know. So a few more questions about me. We're going to avoid those. Just skip those. So we had a question about the construction of the cabinets, and I'm going to answer that with a simple answer: yes. It could be any number of things. It could be wood, composite, plastic, or a combination of the above. All right. Gene asks a question that we do not have time for. But his question, probably a bit of a slippery slope. What's the difference between the ES1203 and the EVOL 50? I'll give you the really short answer because I sell both brands and I love the EVOL 50, and I don't want to put you on the spot. I will say some key differences. One is the EVOL 50 has waveguides on the high frequencies, which is really nice. Their response across the arc of coverage is fantastic. However, the 1203 has two 12-inch drivers in the sub, and it has the ability to split the top. Am I correct on that? I nailed everything? Okay. All right. You gave me a funny look, so I thought maybe I had made a mistake.
No. I was trying to read the comments.
I think you're trying to understand my English.
No.
anyway, so those are some of the differences. Earlier, somebody had asked about a head-to-head, and I think what we would find is that you would find a lot of nuances, like you showed earlier in just comparing the same speaker with and without FIR. I think if we looked at a lot of these different speakers, we would find differences in frequency response. We would find differences in linearity. And at the end of the day, we would even find differences in preference. And I know that if you put 10 different sound guys in a room, you're going to get 11 different opinions. Yeah. So Gene, that's a question. You're very welcome, by the way. That's a question that we could spend an entire hour debating. And it's just like the customer who is wrestling with the EVOX 12 versus the ES1203. Again, I love the EVOL. I love the ES1203. This is a really hard, which is better, because I don't think there's a clear answer in my mind. I think each suits a specific purpose, and they're both excellent brands. I think it's kind of like, shopping for cars, and, you're like, well, should I get the Ferrari or the Lamborghini? I don't know. Both pretty fun to drive, I think. I never got to drive one. If I come to Italy, will you let me drive one? Can we arrange that? Yeah. You have one, right? 2 or 3 Ferraris in your backyard?
Every Italian has one. I've heard this before.
That's what I thought. Boy, more questions on how beautiful I am. I think everybody's sucking up because they want a discount. Or
probably.
They really want Katie back on the show. They're like, please get Katie back on the show. Hey, everybody, listen, we've had Marco for about 45 minutes here, almost an hour. I know that you are going on vacation, probably in your Ferrari. So my friend, thank you so much for joining us. Viewers, if you're watching a replay of this and you have questions, please send us those questions. Contact us via our website or however is convenient for you. We will be very happy to answer those. And those of you who have complicated questions like this versus that, we will do our very best to just give you meaningful answers and help you decide which loudspeaker is best for you. But know that you can buy DB Tech with confidence. It is a great loudspeaker that is well supported, and you'll be very happy with it.
Well,
I could just stay on and watch these comments all day. We better wrap this up. Thanks so much, Marco. Appreciate you very, very much. And take care. Stay safe. We'll see you soon.
Thank you guys for hosting me. It was been a pleasure. And again, if you have any other questions, I'm also available to help you guys answering these questions. And it's been a great pleasure. Let's do it again sometime. Take care.
Sounds good. Take care.
Ciao, man. Thank you.